Hi there, Terry back again. Hope I find you well. Welcome to my latest video. Well, my first Kolchak video seemed to do well, and a number of you asked for a second, so I will comply. Firstly, in the previous video, I spoke about an anniversary issue that had been lost in the post. Well, someone in the post office must have been watching, because miracle upon miracle, it turned up. Lost in the ether for goodness knows how long. This, like its smaller version, is signed by James Aquilon, the editor, and also the writer of Satanic Panic 88, one of the stories inside. The cover by Jerry Ordway and Zach Kinson. And there are 12 stories inside. And it's written by, among others, David Avallone, Jonathan Maybury, the recently departed Peter David, and also Kim Newman, Steve Niles, and James Chambers, plus others. And artists Julius Ota, J.K. Woodward, Simone Krujdansky, Colton Worley, and many others. And as I said, this one has been signed. Last video, I was waiting for a mini-series to arrive. Well, here they are. Night Stalker of the Living Dead. There's 3 issues. The covers are by Dave Akins, and they came out between March and November of 2008. It was written by Christopher Mills, art by Tim Hamilton and Ian Whiskey. And I do apologise for all these name pronunciations. Wrong ones, probably. Kolchak has gone to this little town at George's Corner in Nebraska just to cover a festival pageant and interview a famous face. But people start disappearing and zombie-like creatures begin appearing. My favourite part of this story is that Kolchak is on a plane heading home, telling this story to his tape recorder, while the passengers in the plane get to hear it, and through the 3 issues, more and more of them surround him in fear and fascination of his story. Next, we have a black and white graphic novel, The Forgotten Lore of Edgar Allan Poe. This was published in December 2016. Written by James Chambers, art by Louis Serini. I'll spell it. CZERNIAWSKI. And Philippe Kroll and Jim Fern. Also inside a prose story, also by James Chambers. From Telltale Hearts and Premature Burials to Black Cats and the Red Death, reporter Carl Kolchak grapples with the deepening horror and madness as events from Edgar Allan Poe's tales of mystery and imagination come to life in modern-day Baltimore. Kolchak teams with a street magician who performs tricks and escapes, inspired by Poe, to expose the supernatural power bringing the author's deadly visions to life, and solve a series of terrifying occurrences, disappearances, and murders. Next, we have another graphic novel. This one is based on a screenplay by Stephen Lord and Michael Kozol, but this is one that never saw a camera. Eve of Terror. The cover is by David Michael Beck. The adaptation, also with original material, is written by Joe Gentile. Penciler Walter Figueroa, inks Chad Hunt, colours Tricia Hale. It was published in January 2005. Most people are familiar with the old Charles Dickens saying, "Beauty is only skin deep." Yet how many know the rest of the quote? But ugly goes to the bone. This story has a classic Jekyll and Hyde theme with a twist. A female scientist is mysteriously and quite violently murdered in her lab. Kolchak, hot on the case, discovers that the laboratory and the shadowy figures that fund its experiments, I should say, have much to hide. But when a seemingly unrelated murder takes place, with Kolchak as the only witness, no power on earth can stop our man from uncovering the horrible truths. Next we have 3 issues which I believe were going to be an ongoing at one time, but the gaps between issues put pay to that. Kolchak, The Night Stalker Files. October 2010 was the first one, and all covers are by Woodrow Hinton III. All 3 issues are written by Christopher Mills, art by Jamie Martinez, and the colours by Jason Jensen. The first file. Carl is desperate for a paycheck, being between jobs for a while now. But when a young actress goes missing on the set of a low-budget monster flick, he soon discovers that making it big in Hollywood can be murder. The second file came out in March 2011, and things are looking up for Carl. He's got a new job in sunny Florida with a fat paycheck and an editor who loves him. But deep in the heart of the Everglades, something inhuman is on the prowl, a terrifying creature with a taste for human flesh. And the last issue, published in 1812, published in April 2012, over a year later, is part 2 to the Everglades story. And despite it giving the colourist, this book is in black and white. So whether I have a misprint, I have no idea. Next we have 2 crossover flip books, starting with The Spider and Domino Lady. Published in 2011, Spider cover is by Arlie Tucker, and the Domino Lady cover is by Marcello Ferreira. Both stories are written by Stephen L. Frank, and the story title for all 4 issues is Phases of the Moon. Then we have Honey West, cover by Thad Rhodes, and then the Kolchak cover by Brittany J. This is a story of a cult stretching over a 40-year period. A cult that likes to kill young, up-and-coming actresses in the false conclusion this will continue their misguided lives. This next one is an adaptation of the original novel that the TV movie and the show were based on. It's adapted by the original writer of the novel, Jeff Rice. This was published in 2002, 30 years after the TV movie was made. The painted cover is by Ken Mayer Jr. A series of murders plagued the Las Vegas Strip. All the victims had their bodies drained of blood. Carl Kolchak, a veteran reporter who has been fired from newspapers across the country due to his tenacious and unprofessional approach, thinks the killer believes himself to be a vampire. His managing editor, Tony Vincenzo, refuses to run the story under the vampire angle without proof. So Kolchak goes off to find this proof. Next, published in March 2006, Kolchak, The Phoenix Rising, written by Paul Kuperberg, and you will know as a prolific writer primarily for DC, up to 2006 anyway. The cover and the internal art are by David Bryant, and this is in black and white. Strange visitor from another planet, Bennu, and Kolchak investigate a murder case where the main suspect's alibi is alien abduction. Kolchak doesn't believe the suspect and has no idea who or what Bennu is, or why he wants to solve this murder. Next, the adaptation of the second TV movie, Kolchak, The Night Strangler, or The Night Strangler, published in 2010, 37 years after the TV movie aired. It's adapted by its original writer, Richard Matheson, and the cover is by E.M. Geist. Amin Amat and Stefano Martino with the art, along with colourist Daniel Vozzo. Kolchak is assigned to cover a series of killings in which the victims, all exotic dancers, are strangled. Kolchak learns from the coroner's report that the victims' necks were actually crushed, a feat no human should be able to accomplish. They were drained of a few ounces of blood, and there were traces of rotted flesh on their necks. Getting towards the end now, a crossover. This one with the Kevin J. Anderson creation, Dan Shamble Zombie PI, of which there are 9 novels. He also has written in with other collaborators Star Wars and Dune novels, plus lots of others, including 3 must-read X-Files novels, Ground Zero, Ruins and Antibodies. This story, Unnaturally Normal, he writes with Richard Dean Starr, cover artist Dennis Calero, and internal art by Sergio Ibanez. Kolchak would like proof that monsters exist. Dan Shamble's zombie PI lives in a world where he solves all sorts of everyday crimes among monsters. And when a rogue trio of hoodlum genies decide to use dimensional doorways to dump magical toxic waste, and an unwitting nerdy werewolf kid as bagman, Kolchak and Shamble find themselves in a hilariously confused situation. And we have another crossover with Honey West, cover by Ron Sutton. High Heels and Hedonism by Janet L. Hetherington. Internal art by Ron Sutton, and the colours are by James Brown. And now I've said that name, I wonder who YouTube will picture below me. Published in January 2013. This story is set when Kolchak was little more than a copy boy. This inexperienced version of Kolchak is certainly novel and helps fill the gaps of his history. Honey West seems a little tougher than usual, and the two meet while investigating an analogue of old Playboy clubs and find something evil behind the hedonistic veneer. This last offering I have to show was published in 2005. The cover art by David Ulansky and Ken Wolak. It contains 3 stories with a framing sequence. It's written by Dave Ulansky and the art by Chris Burnham. And the first story, Stoned, is written by Peter David, art by Kirk Jarvinen and Keith Williams. The second story, The Spike, is written by Clay and Susan Griffith, pencils George Broderick, inks Ken Wheaton. And lastly, The Stuff I Leave Out is written by Stefan Petrucha, and the art is by Robert Hack. And synopsis for Peter David's tale. While covering a nationwide talent search to find America's new top fashion model, Kolchak meets Anya, the sister of Tanya Walker, one of the contestants. However, when Tanya's body is found in a petrified state, he suspects that someone is deliberately sabotaging the contest. Could Tanya's rival, the beautiful but enigmatic Athene Antakis, be the deadly Medusa of ancient Greek legend? Well, that's it for another video. Hope you enjoyed another rummage through my comic collection. Let me know in the comments, and please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you would like to, if you actually like the content, and please comment. Right, I will see you in the next one. Bye. Actually, I forgot to mention, please could you note in the comments what you think of my outro? And I would be interested to find out. Thank you very much. Bye.